Hello and welcome to Moseley Rugby Round Up. Coming up on today's show, we take a look back at that agonising defeat against Leeds and we preview the game against Rotherham. Hello and welcome to Moseley Rugby Round Up. I'm Paul Bradley and I'm joined as usual in our Fort Dunlop studios by Brian Dick. Hi Brian.
Hi Paul.
Well, we're also going to talk about the Leeds game first of all today, that agonising defeat. Give us your verdict on it.
Well, agonising is the word for it. It was just such a sad way to end. Typical Moseley, they'd not played very well for the first half, found themselves 13-0 down, and then in the second half, they managed to summon these efforts from somewhere, and they did so again, and they got themselves into a position where they were 2 points up on the last play of the game. Then one of them goes off their feet, and the guy that's kicked only missed one goal from 7 attempts all afternoon, kicks another one, and they're left with a loss bonus, which doesn't even start to act as a consolation, considering what they should have had, because it was a very good second half and they really got in amongst and on top of Leeds during that time.
And that seems to be every week now in this show. We're talking about a game of two halves when it comes to Moseley, starting off slowly and then trying to pull it back in the second half. Yeah,
it's very strange. And Kevin Maggs, if you listen back, I listen back to the interviews I do after the games with him, and pretty much it's the same thing. We didn't start well. Gives them a bit of a rollicking at half time, makes a couple of substitutions, and they're off again. The answer is maybe start the game at 3:40, or only play, don't have a break in the middle. I don't know what is the answer. They really, it's just a mental thing. They've got to go out in the first few minutes and just pile into Rotherham this weekend. It's absolutely key, and they can't. This weekend, they can't get too hung up about who wins the toss and whether they go uphill or downhill first half.
You mentioned Kevin Maggs' reaction there, and we caught up with him after the game, and here were his thoughts.
Yeah, I'm just obviously absolutely devastated for the players as well, because a lot of them put a lot of hard work into it, and it's desperate to lose by 1 point. If it's by 50, at least you can sort of justify it in some way, but in so many words, we only got ourselves to blame, really. And we said it before the start of the game, not to give them early penalties, because they've got a good goal kicker and stuff, but we still did it. And some boys listen and other boys don't.
Well, that was Kevin Maggs. Can they take any positives from the game?
Yeah, they can. The backs played pretty well in that second half once the forwards gave them the platform. The centre partnership of Greg King and Andy Ray is starting to pretty promising. Maggs is very pleased with that partnership, and bear in mind he's got Jack Adams as well, who was the star of their national trophy run a couple of years ago. So a bit of an embarrassment of riches in that position. The backs are functioning well, but as we know, it's the forwards who win the games, and they're only doing it for half a game at the moment. So if they can combine the two elements, and there's absolutely no reason why they can't finish mid-table.
And moving on to the Rotherham game, we've got some interesting statistics on Rotherham. What sort of game we're kind of expecting, really?
Well, it could be very. It's a really weird one, because Rotherham has scored 2 tries in all the first halves they've played this season, and 13 in the second. So what do you do there? Do you maybe start the game at half time or we have a 0-0 at half time? It's you throw into the cocktail the old Billsley slope, and it depends who's going uphill, who's going downhill in the first half, and it could be a terrible first half and a brilliant second half. So it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds.
And just a quick word on Moseley. You've mentioned it already in the show, how they'll be trying to move on from that Leeds game. Yeah, well,
it comes down to selection. The combinations in the front row aren't right yet. That's one important factor. And maybe if certain players are struggling in the front row, they need to be taken out of the firing line. The other issue is the work rate and the commitment levels in the first 40 minutes. The guys that are coming off the bench, seem to do so with a point to prove. The guys at start have got points to prove as well. There can be no doubt about that. And Rotherham will present a pretty awesome forward challenge this weekend. And if Moseley aren't on their mettle, from the very first minute, the Rotherham pack will steamroller them because they've got some enormous players in that side.
OK, Brian, well, thanks for your thoughts today. And thank you for watching. We'll be back again next week with more Moseley Rugby Roundup.